kind of wild to think that it's almost been 19 years since the release of Michael Bay's first Transformers movie. 19 years of explosions, sleek cars, underutilized characters, confusing plot lines, and moments so out of left pocket that it would leave most audience members scratching their heads wondering who was smoking what to let that in there.
We've got a pre-existing juvenile foundational relationship. Statute 2705-3.
What? Texas statute?
With so many people sharing their thoughts on these movies, it's almost daunting to think about what I could possibly add to the conversation that hasn't already been said. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try though, so yeah, here is yet another retrospective of Transformers 2007. Grimm style. And I guess where to start? Well, maybe it's best if we start at the beginning, or rather, my beginning, as a Transformers fan anyway. You see, it wasn't the original G1 series that got me into the franchise. It wasn't the 86 movie, it wasn't Beast Wars, it wasn't even Bay's film. How I got my start was with a little series whose energy I still haven't seen in a Transformers property since. And it goes a little something like this.
Our worlds are in danger.
Transformers Cybertron made its debut in 2005 as the finale in the Unicron trilogy of shows, which consisted of Armada back in 2002, then Energon in 2004. Sadly, I missed the boat on both Armada and Energon, but this one definitely got my attention. You get this entire galaxy trekking adventure filled with colorful robot characters led by charismatic leaders. And when one of those leaders turns into a freaking fire truck of all things, my mind immediately sunk its teeth into the show. I mean, what wasn't there to love here? You had action, comedy, and robots galore. This was my Transformers growing up, and this is still what I think of when I think of some of these characters. But why is this important? Well, I had no knowledge of any of the other shows at the time, so imagine my surprise when one fateful day when walking through the local Walmart, my mother would point up to one of the nearby TV screens where a trailer was playing for a movie that would change everything. A strange little trailer involving a Mars rover and a giant silhouette, all culminating in the reveal. The Transformers would be making their live-action debut in July of 2007. My adolescent mind was running wild with possibilities of space travel and super modes. I was excited to see Hotshot and Jetfire on the big screen and to see Cyberplanet Keys in live action. Meanwhile, what I didn't realize was that my mom was also excited at this reveal. But in her mind, she was thinking of colorful, campy robots, goofy Decepticons, and that classic Saturday morning cartoon fun the original show had. Both of us had our minds running wild with possibilities of what could be happening on the big screen. And then I saw the first full trailer, and I was filled with a lot of confusion. Who were these characters? Some I recognized, but most of these Autobots were nobodies to me. Where was Hotshot? Where was Landmine? Who the heck was this Bumblebee guy? And they turned Optimus Prime into a semi-truck. Why? Fire truck was so cool. This is a complete betrayal of everything I knew of the character at the time. And no mention of cyber keys or even a black hole? Everything was completely wrong to me. It was so hard to wrap my head around the prospect that this was more like the original show than the one that I grew up with. Which in hindsight is very funny considering the drama surrounding the Peterbilt alt mode with the hot rod flames. Doesn't seem like too much of a change now by comparison, does it? But hey, I was willing to give it a shot, and so began the worst part. The waiting game. It really sucks being excited for a movie you want to watch as a kid. The time between seeing the trailer and actually seeing the movie itself can be killer. Just stuck watching and rewatching the trailers whenever possible, slowly piecing together this epic fan fiction in your mind because your young, dumb brain doesn't yet comprehend how movies are actually made. And then the day of reckoning finally comes. You go to the local theater, you get your expensive concessions, and then you take a seat for the grand event. And man, how grand it was. From the moment those blades on Blackout shot upward, my eyes were glued to the screen. For the next 2 hours and 24 minutes, I found myself falling in love with the absolute mayhem that was unfolding before me. I was eating up every explosion-filled moment. And from the moment I walked out of that theater, my Transformers fever was higher than it has ever been before. Everything from that moment basically became about Transformers. And it became one of the things I loved most as a kid. I watched and rewatched that movie religiously, and my Christmas list was filled with basically every character seen on the screen. I had Transformer-themed birthday parties, I had Transformer-themed shirts, I even owned the Transformers game for the Wii. Yeah, I don't own that one anymore. So while Transformers Cybertron got me into Transformers, it really was the 2007 movie that really ignited my love for the franchise as a whole. And the rest, they say, is history. Alright, not quite. Of course, there is still a lot to cover. And while I would love to sit here and ramble about every little thing I love outside of the movie, I would like to keep this video mostly about the film itself. I loved this film as a kid. I idolized it. I thought it was the best thing ever created. All this time later, and after seeing so many more films, how will my thoughts change? What worked then and what works now? What doesn't? Well, let's take a closer look. So, our film opens up depicting our MacGuffin of the film, the Cube. An object that... well, take it away, Peter.
Before time began, there was the cube. We know not where it comes from, only that it holds the power to create worlds and fill them with life. That is how our race was born. For a time we lived in harmony, but like all great power, some wanted it for good, others for evil. And so began the war. A war that ravaged our planet until it was consumed by death, and the cube was lost to the far reaches of space. We scattered across the galaxy, hoping to find it and rebuild our home, searching every star, every world. And just when all hope seemed lost, a message of a new discovery drew us to an unknown planet called Earth.
Yeah, that. Before shifting to the deserts of Qatar, where Group A is introduced. We see that Fig, played by Amori Nolasco, Epps, played by Tyrese Gibson, Donnelly, played by Zach Ward, the bully from Christmas Story, and Lennox, played by Josh Duhamel, are returning to base as, unbeknownst to them, a mysterious black chopper is spotted traveling their direction. Something I do appreciate is that there is good chemistry between the four of these people. It really feels like they have known each other for a while, and they are all charismatic enough to where I do want to see these four survive when things inevitably go wrong. Which, speaking of which, this impossible chopper is demanded to land, the flickering image of the pilot signaling that something is very, very wrong. And then, the blades shift. Oh, right, I'm doing a video here. Yeah, even after all this time, this scene still gives me goosebumps. The sound design here is brilliant, and I love how they managed to include the iconic transforming sound effect. And the way Blackout just explodes into a bunch of shifting parts as the Hellfire bullets do nothing to him, just, what an opening! And the effects after all this time really do hold up. Blackout is still looking amazing, and you can really feel the chaotic energy of the base attack as people are just scrambling around trying to figure out anything they can do to stop this thing. You really get a sense of scale, and just how oppressive of a force only one of these things can be to an entire military base. It really sets the tone and helps show the Decepticons as a genuine threat. But then we have to shift into the high school scenes, where our actual protagonist is introduced. This here is Sam Witwicky, played by Shia LaBeouf, showing off some of his great-great-grandfather's belongings, including a pair of strangely etched glasses, which he then tries to sell to his classmates for car money. Which I guess he doesn't really even need, because his father, played by Kevin Dunn, is taking him out for a car anyway. This leads us to one of my personal favorite locations of the film. A used car dealership run by Bobby Bolivia, played by the amazing Bernie Mac, who just knocked it out of the park in this performance. While looking for the proper car to purchase, strange things begin happening around the lot, with poor G1B getting bullied, Bolivia's entire livelihood being destroyed, and ending with Sam leaving the lot with a beat-down Camaro. But like, good lord, B, what happened to robots in disguise? You didn't have to destroy the entire guy's livelihood. And what was family dinner like that night? Oh yeah, dear, it was the weirdest thing. Every other option in the lot just exploded, leaving only the Camaro left. I'm sure never gonna think about that again. Back in the desert, we see that not everyone was wiped out during the base attack, as a small group of soldiers with only a few guns and a tank at their disposal attempt to flee to nearby civilization to let the government know exactly what attacked their base. But little do they know, something evil lurks beneath the sand. But before we get to the cool stuff, we gotta sit through even more school drama as Sam and his friend Miles find themselves facing off against Jock Bully Archetype 1, another character who we will never see again in this franchise. What? Okay. Anyway, it is here that we are formally introduced to our second protagonist of the film, Michaela Baines, played by Megan Fox. After getting fed up with Jock Bully Archetype 1's behavior, she ditches him and proceeds to walk home. When the alien vehicle persuades Sam to ditch his, I guess, best friend, and pursue the girl of his dreams, who has to be reminded he even exists.
Are you new to school this year? It's your first year?
Bumblebee fakes a Charlie horse and takes them to a nice romantic spot off to the side of the road as he blasts Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. I can't help but feel bad for Michaela in this scene. She goes from one self-absorbed jock to a self-absorbed whiner and his alien wingman. A very unhappy Michaela decides to take a look under the hood as we learn a bit more about her mechanical history.
My dad, he was a real grease monkey. He taught me all about this.
We end up getting a pretty ham-fisted more than meets the eye line.
I think there's a lot more than meets the eye with you.
And officially Team B is introduced. Meanwhile, on Air Force One, Decepticon Frenzy is conducting a stealthy mission to infiltrate and steal sensitive information from the servers that are on board. We get a nice blend of both practical and CGI effects here, with the design of Frenzy himself being this little freak, who, while looking completely different from his G1 counterpart, still carries over that sort of energy that the cassette formers originally had, with this sort of sarcastic zest in the way that he moves and hides. Overall, a pretty tense sequence that again shows how dangerous these things can be, both big and small. Even more strange things are afoot when back at our protagonist's house, Sam hears his car start up in the middle of the night. Worried someone is stealing the one thing that matters to him, Sam proceeds to chase his stolen car on bike, following it to a local junkyard where we see Bumblebee's reveal. And this scene is still great. The score just swells perfectly as we get this great shot of Bumblebee shining the Autobot symbol into the sky. Sam, very understandably, begins to freak out and starts filming his last words on his phone. But before he can get away, a couple junkyard dogs decide they want to ravage our protagonist. B intervenes, but before Sam gets to safety, he is promptly arrested for trespassing. Back at the desert, Group A finally faces off with the deadly Scorponok. Scott Farkas gets skewered, and everyone runs for their lives as the battle grows more intense. We get another nice action set piece as Scorponok faces off against the combined civilian and military forces. But it takes some extreme firepower to even dent the thing, with the battle not even resulting in a clear victory as the damaged Scorponok manages to escape, with only the tip of his tail being severed. With everyone feeling victorious, the remaining members of Group A begin their trip home. Meanwhile, Maggie Madsen, played by Rachel Taylor, is currently on the hunt for her own answers regarding the mysterious recordings from the Decepticon attacks, bringing an illegally downloaded copy of the audio files to a hacker played by Anthony Anderson. Glenn is by far one of my favorite characters in this movie, and I really wish he was brought back for the sequels. After being shown the classified files, Glenn manages to put together a few pieces of the puzzle before a group of FBI agents swarm the house, placing Team C under arrest.
She don't like nobody on the carpet, especially police!
We return back to Sam, freed from his brief time with the police, minding his own business when Bumblebee returns to Sam's dismay. He proceeds to run from Satan's Camaro, running to a nearby police car for help. The vehicle then reveals itself to be the Decepticon Barricade, who's just looking to purchase from Sam's eBay page.
Are you username LadiesMan217?
Hey, what did stop the Decepticons or the Autobots from just purchasing the... Oh, right. Sam and Michaela enter Bumblebee and a chase ensues. And man, Bay really knows how to shoot his chase sequences. There is just so much energy here, and the reactions by Fox and LaBeouf do still get a laugh out of me.
We're gonna die! We're gonna die!
The chase evolves into a battle as Bumblebee takes on Barricade in a clash of sparks and metal, with Sam and Michaela facing off against Frenzy. While B seems to handle himself fine, Sam finds himself outmatched and on the defensive. Michaela comes in with a saw and proceeds to hack the guy to pieces. Frenzy's head gets the Team Rocket treatment, and both heroes come out victorious. A damaged Frenzy disguises himself as Michaela's phone, and Barricade lives another day to lick his wounds. Why B didn't just finish him off? Hard to say, but now our trio and our end finally get a chance to actually communicate with each other. With it being revealed that B can only speak using the radio, something that I think only really works in this movie. We'll get to that later. But it does work. I really like the way the channels kind of mix and weave into each other. It's not perfect speech, but you can interpret it enough, and it kind of creates this otherworldly feeling that, as a kid, I loved. B gets an upgrade with this very fun moment of him scanning another Camaro while on two wheels. And from the sky, 4 fireballs come crashing down around the city, all while Arrival to Earth by Steve Jablonsky plays in the background. One by one, we see the emergence of the Autobots as they each choose their disguises. Our heroes are taken to some remote alleyway where we are introduced to the leader of the Autobots, Optimus Prime.
My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron.
Peter Cullen really was the best choice to voice Prime. As a kid, I really didn't appreciate his return as much as I should have. But now I can see just how smart of a decision it was to bring him back after all this time. His voice just exudes this commanding presence that makes him perfect for a role like this, both back then and now. And just... I love how all the Autobots look when they transform. Each Autobot gets their own little quirk when they transform, which makes this scene a treat on rewatches. It took me years to notice that Jazz isn't even wearing glasses when he first transforms. The introduction of the Autobots is so well done here, and seeing Prime in all his glory was great then, and it's great now. I love how he moves, and I love all the little clicks and buzzes his body makes whenever he does so. It's the small details that really bring these characters to life, something that I think the later films just kind of forgot about. We finally get some backstory as we get a very brief glimpse of this hellscape of a Cybertron, with these spiky pillars erupting from the ground, as well as finally seeing our big bad of the film, Megatron. With it being revealed that the coordinates to the Allspark were etched into Archibald's glasses, Sam, Michaela, and the Autobots rush back to Sam's house to acquire the map. And here we get some goofy fun of the Autobots just trying to be stealthy. This is just some nice goofy fun that still makes me smile. It's kind of funny to think that the Decepticons have the whole robots in disguise thing down better than the Autobots as they continue to crash, bash, and smash their way through the entire yard. Sam's parents go to his room to check on him. Sam's mom, played by Julie White, talks about Sam lighting his darkest hour, and a line of mysterious black vans begin to pull into the driveway. It is here where we are introduced to the best character in the franchise, Agent Simmons, played by John Turturro, who is a member of the mysterious Sector 7. I find Sector 7 to be pretty interesting. It takes the Men in Black concept and runs with it in a very enjoyable way. Simmons is a joy to watch on the screen, and seeing their base in Hoover Dam later on in the film is a lot of fun. Everyone in the house is scooped up by the Men in Black, with this pole not nearly being long enough to deal with a breed this dangerous, and are taken away. We learn some more about Michaela's backstory, adding some context to her mechanical abilities before the Autobots step in to stop them. However, reinforcements are called and a clash between the Autobots and Sector 7 ensue, resulting in the capture of Bumblebee and the recapture of Sam and Michaela. Maybe shouldn't have spent all that time whizzing out the clock there. With the remaining Autobots having the glasses in their possession, they manage to finally pinpoint the location of the Allspark and begin to make their way towards Hoover Dam, where it just so happens groups A, B, and C have all been gathered. We get a healthy dose of exposition. Frenzy uses the Allspark to get a new body, and the Decepticons are alerted to the Allspark's location and mobilized in this cool sound-off scene with all the big bads. Trying to get ahead of the Decepticons, Sam and company set Bumblebee free and allow him near the Allspark, and the entire thing mass shifts down into a teeny tiny cube. And so the race is on, as Megatron, voiced by Hugo Weaving, is freed from his frozen prison and proceeds to go on a rampage around the complex, managing to finally meet back up with his Decepticons after so long. Meanwhile, the Autobots also managed to meet up, hitting the sick U-turn and joining teams A and B. Heroes and villains are now both en route to their final battleground, Mission City. Really? Mission City, that's the best, Okay, and this is when things get awesome. Optimus lags behind and takes on Bone Crusher in an amazing set piece on the highway, including a bus being destroyed and a kick-ass practical effect. It really is effects like this that help the movie stay looking as good as it does so many years later. Team C take on Frenzy while trying to contact the Air Force. The Air Force takes on Starscream. Michaela hoists around a damaged Bumblebee. And the entire city becomes a scramble for the Allspark as it becomes a sea of clashing metal and lens flares. This battle really does a great job at keeping the energy levels high while also topping the previous set pieces. The destruction here feels so crunchy, and the mix of practical and CGI effects are working beautifully together here. The shaky cam is used a lot, but it's balanced with a few more stable shots, so luckily it doesn't become nauseating. It just kind of helps add to the overall chaotic vibe. And what I really appreciate is that you can clearly tell who is fighting who here. Each Decepticon has a distinct enough body type, and each Autobot has a different enough color to where you can really tell what's going on in the battles. Another thing that I remember getting worse and worse in the later films. Then we get the final battle between Megatron, Optimus, and their human allies. The Allspark is shoved in Megatron's chest, and the Autobots save the day! Bumblebee even talks.
Permission to speak, sir.
Why? I don't know, but he does! The dead Decepticons are dumped into the ocean, everyone returns home, and our heroes make out on top of an alien Camaro while Optimus gives a speech to Linkin Park. Holy 2007, Batman.
I am going to destroy you, Bone Crusher.
No, Prime, it is me who will destroy you.
So after all this time, is Transformers still the best thing ever created? Is it still peak cinema? Is it still what child me thought it was all this time later? I mean, kinda. So this is not a perfect movie by any means. The plot isn't very deep, the humor doesn't always land, and can be pretty distracting when it doesn't, and Sam just isn't a very interesting protagonist. But also, I fully acknowledge that this film wasn't being created with the intention of creating the next big epic drama. And for what it is, I think it excels at what it was trying to accomplish. Not only did this film manage to bring back the Transformers name in a big way, but it kicked off a worldwide fever that lasted for years. This film is an amazing action film. Honestly, I would go so far to say it's one of the best action films that the early 2000s had to offer. There is a beautiful dance here of both practical and special effects that are enhanced by some amazing sound design, and an equally amazing soundtrack by Steve Jablonsky. This makes Transformers 2007 more of an experience. There is a lot of care here to try and find a compromise that will make old fans happy while bringing in new fans who have no idea about the ha-ha funny robot cartoon from the 80s. Like, yes, a lot of these characters are different, but this film gives us versions of these characters that make sense for the world that it's trying to build. The Decepticon and Autobot designs are perfect for a general audience to pick out and differentiate between, with the Autobots having these brighter colors and more human-like faces and proportions, while the Decepticons have these more alien faces and more unique proportions. And not only that, but all the Decepticons are utilized very well in the scenes that they are in. Blackout's attack on the military base is tense and perfectly sets up the Decepticons as a major threat. Scorponok is given a tense scene weaving in and out of the sand as people struggle to flee from it. Frenzy is given these tight corridors and a very claustrophobic set piece with the Air Force One. I just like how each Decepticon is given something a little different. It really helps keep these characters memorable while also giving this movie this sort of horror vibe. These things really do come off as insanely oppressive when humans have to deal with them. I mean, as far as movie aliens go, these things are awesome. I also think the Autobots are done really well. Each of the Autobots are given a few lines and at least one memorable moment in the film. Would I have liked to see more of them? Of course, but I feel like we get enough to where they are not underutilized. One thing I found myself appreciating after all this time is the character of Michaela. I think it's interesting to have her battle having a criminal father, as well as having to deal with how others perceive her based on her looks. It makes me appreciate scenes like when Jock Bully Archetype 1 tells her to hop in the back of his truck even more, because we see that not only is it disrespectful to her, but it's also disrespectful to her skills that she learned from her criminal father. She's been around vehicles all her life, she's a killer driver as we see later in the film, and it's interesting to watch this movie all this time later and to see the little things that I missed. She is by far the more interesting of our two protagonists, and sometimes I wonder what the movie would have been like if it was from her perspective instead of Sam's. I think it would have been interesting to see how she lived during this time and how the movie would have played out from her perspective. I digress though. I guess overall though, I found myself really appreciating Transformers 2007 all this time later. I accept and understand now all the little flaws and cracks this movie has. And like I said, the story here is nothing groundbreaking. It won't send you into tears or make you reconsider life. But if you watch this movie, what you will find is one of the best disaster flicks to come out of the 2000s. A film injected with so much chaotic and destructive energy that it makes it a piece of art in its genre. If you go in expecting a fun, chaotic time, I feel like you'll come out a very happy person. So yeah, I suppose all this time later, I still have a lot of love for the film. But I think more importantly, I love what the film has done for the franchise. You can really see just how much life this film brought back to Transformers. Because from there, business was booming. New TV shows, new movies, games, comics, toys, and most importantly, new fans. Say what you will about this movie, or the entire Bay franchise as a whole, but without it, it's kind of hard to say what would have happened to all the characters I've grown to love over the years. It's hard to say if I ever would have even seen Generation 1, or would have been a fan of the franchise all these years later. So for that, I will always be appreciative of this film, and for all the joy the franchise has brought me since. It has been years since Bay's last film, and with him coming back to direct the next live-action movie, I can only hope that they remember what made this film work so many years ago. So now that we have that finished, I think there is only one logical place to go next. What?
We've got to